We want to thank you for being here. We recognize the commitment that you're taking to pursue excellence. You're just one step closer to achieving success. And the Institute is here to help at every step, wherever you are in your business journey. We've helped thousands of shops over decades and across the nation, from service advisor and manager training to a shop that's just starting out, or even those who are planning their growth, scaling from 10 to 20 to 30 locations. Those that are preparing for private equity sale, or even those that are succeeding their business to the next generation. The Institute and our many coaches with years of experience, both from inside and outside the industry, are here to provide education and tools to get you on your way. You do not have to do this alone. We hope you enjoy the content to come. For a better business, a better life, and a better industry, the Institute.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Today, I am here with Cecil Bullard. Cecil, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, Lucas. You know, it's not Friday, but but we're almost there.
Close enough, right? We're getting there. Cecil, hey, listen. So I got a message last night, and it was a little concerning. It was from a dear friend of mine, and it was actually from his wife, and they're going through some struggles right now. You've been doing this a long time. They're shop owners, and I've summarized the message. I'm not going to expose who they are or anything like that, but I've summarized the message. I've brought it way down. I have a couple questions that I want to start with in this episode. We're going to dive off the deep end in this. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely. I'm ready to go with you.
Okay. In the shop owner world, how do you distinguish between normal entrepreneurial stress and behavior that might signal a deeper mental health issue? I know of a shop owner who goes through repeated cycles of extreme enthusiasm and big decisions, buying equipment or vehicles, talking about expanding to multiple locations, launching new services like towing, or obsessing over competitors. Then shortly after, they regret the decision, get discouraged, withdraw, or pivot to something completely different. Now, Cecil, this is not just once we've seen this cycle. This is, we're 10, 15 times deep at this point. The pattern also shows up financially, large impulsive purchases or debt. In leadership, difficulty with sticking with a plan, and they'll say, hey, we're going to do this. And they even have a coach, and they'll say, hey, I'm going to do this. We're going to make this happen. And then it all falls apart. And in constantly chasing the next big idea instead of stabilizing what they're already doing, right? Like they have it together. All they have to do is be there and lead and guide their team and take them to the next level. So the first question is, how common is this cycle in the industry?
Well, I would tell you, after, 27 years or whatever it is of doing this, that the cycle is very common. And I don't know that it's an industry challenge as opposed to a human being challenge. I used to think there was a normal, like, hey, maybe I'm normal, or I'd like to be normal. Yeah. And the older I get, the more experience I have, the less I think there's a normal. Okay. Yeah. And so number one, right, entrepreneurial spirit means I want to do something. I want to do something special. Certainly, I've had that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm also a little bit obsessive compulsive and a little bit manic depressive myself. And a lot of the people in my family have these traits. My mother was way manic depressive, even bordering on what most people today would call mentally ill. And so, learning to deal with that, learning to deal with it in your own self. Mm-hmm. And, I would say, unfortunately, most of us are kind of blind to it ourselves. Because if I'm in the moment, like this new thing that's so exciting and everything,
right,
everything else goes away. Right.
Yeah.
I could be called, my wife could have called you and maybe told you the same thing. Pattern over years and years and years. I'm so excited about this new shop and I'm going to do that. And then it gets a little hard and I get distracted. And now I'm over here doing this other new project and this other new project, even the Institute. If it weren't for other people here that could stay focused on one thing, we couldn't be where we are or who we are if it was just up to me, because I would be moving around too much.
I resemble that remark. I really do. Yeah. And here's the thing is, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety and went and spoke with somebody, and I got really lucky because I found a therapist who I really connected with. And first of all, I just want to say, like, I know we're supposed to be big, strong, tough men. There's nothing wrong with going and talking to a therapist. As a matter of fact, I think if you want to be your best version of yourself, that you should do it even if you're perfectly healthy and you don't have any concerns whatsoever.
I think that I don't know. 35 years ago, I was the guy that said counseling, no way, never for me, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Had a problem. My wife was ready to divorce me. We went to see a counselor. I would tell you that is some of the best money I've ever spent in my entire
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
Learning skills that you don't have. It's almost like getting a coach, for your business. Okay. You have a coach telling you, hey, you should raise your labor rate, or you should fix your parts margins, or here's how you manage people, great process, all of that. In a situation where I might see someone, a counselor, that counselor is probably helping me create strategies for me
Yes.
to deal with the world, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
again, I don't think there's a normal. My mom
Amen.
was very abusive. My dad was a wonderful guy, but not home. He was obsessed with work. And part of that, I think, as I've grown older, was that I think he didn't want to be home because there was a crazy woman that lived there with his kids. And
Yeah.
back then you didn't divorce. I mean, that was
Right.
no way. And and so you have to, I don't know. You said something I think is important is, when is it normal or up to what point, and then when
Yeah.
not. And I think if you're getting yourself in serious financial debt,
Yeah.
so and then, hey, Cecil, what's serious financial debt? Oh, I don't know, $1 million.
Yeah.
It's not that much.
Well,
Right?
put it this way.
But serious,
Put it this way. We went and we bought a $140,000 truck. We
Yeah.
financed it at a very high interest rate, and now we want to refinance the house.
Yeah,
because we've also stuck some other financing in that truck too.
Well, and the problem is that you work all your life to like pay off the house, and all of a sudden you're financing the house because you've gone out and spent money in places that you shouldn't have done, right? And I have people in my life that have spent lots of money, got themselves in serious debt. And I mean, don't get me wrong, in business, to me, debt kind of comes along with business if you're going to push the envelope and try to do things that other people aren't doing, right? So
yeah, for sure.
if the opportunity came along right now for me to buy another company that made sense, that I thought would be really great for the institute, et cetera, I'd go do it, and I'd get in debt to do that.
Right.
But I think if you're not stopping and spending 48 hours or maybe even a week thinking about the consequences and how you're going to make the payments and what does that really look like, and like
Warren Buffett once said, he said, if somebody wants you to make a decision right now, it's typically in their favor, not yours.
It's a bad decision. Yeah. And it's almost always going to be a bad decision because you're caught up in the moment, especially if you have like obsessive compulsive or manic depressive. If you're manic, you'll do almost anything. And then if you're depressive, you'll do almost nothing. Right. And there's not an in between, right?
For sure.
The switch is either on or off.
How important? So for me personally, right, the way that I've mitigated some of the anxiety and some of the other things. Now, I'm not going to lie, and I think you know this. The way that I've really managed my anxiety is I have put so much on my plate, I don't have time to worry.
To think about anything else, right? Yeah,
exactly.
that's what I do.
Yeah, but the big things for me is that we built systems around my life, right, and standardized systems, yes or no.
Coping mechanisms.
Exactly.
So I have anxiety when I'm in big crowds, and you would think, oh, well, wait a minute, that's Cecil. He's there a lot, but you'll see me counting, doing different things, and those are coping mechanisms that you develop over a lifetime to reduce the amount of stress that you feel under certain situations, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's another thing that a counselor will help you with, right? So as an example, I have a shop owner and his wife, and he's a nice guy. I've known him for 100 years, and I was working with him probably 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife was working with him, and he was borderline abusive with her verbally abusive with her in front of staff
Right.
meetings, etc. And all she did was cry and leave and run away. And I had a talk with her, and I said, what can you control? Right? Can you control
Right.
him? No, you can't. Right? It's up to him to control him, but you can control yourself. So what you're currently doing is not getting you what you want. The kind of behavior, how you're
Yeah.
treating him, how you're dealing with
Sure.
what he does, somehow is making him feel bigger or better or whatever, instead of the other way around. I said, what if we tried a different behavior? And I think that's what you do when you have counseling. You have a counselor that says, well,
Yes.
you're not
Yes.
able to communicate this way, so what if you did this instead? Right? What
Yeah.
if your behavior was different?
I
Because
think that's
yeah.
I think that's huge. And look, here's the other side of that is one of the things that I worked on was routine. My wife has been phenomenal for me for this, because it's like when I come home, I put my keys in a certain place.
Yep.
And when I get
Me
up in the
too.
morning, I know where my keys are.
That's
And
right.
she helped me build those routines that add some safety for me. Does that make sense?
Stability.
In other words,
Yeah.
it's less stress. It's like I just know what to do, and it's not something I have to think about. And those were things that we worked on, and building routines in your life that protect you from behaviors, right? Not saying that like you can protect yourself from every behavior in every episode, but you can create routines that help prevent things.
Well,
And
and so if you go around, say, spending money,
yeah,
maybe I have some limits that I put on that I can't make that decision without talking to two other people. Like
yeah.
I'm going to talk to my wife if I'm going to spend a lot of money. I'm
Mhm.
not, and by the way, for me, I'm not really asking permission. I just need her to know what I'm thinking and
Yeah.
what I'm up to, and to give me some counseling around whether or not I'm thinking right or not thinking right.
Yeah, exactly, that
I may
outside
still
perspective.
do it, right? And
Yeah.
then maybe you have a business coach or a mentor that you also have a conversation. So you say to yourself, okay, I've put ourselves in financial risk too many times. All right. And
Yeah.
too many might be twice, right? I mean, you work and work and work, and you build and build and build. And then all of a sudden, because you're in a manic state, or you might be depressed, and the way out of it is to go buy $140,000 truck.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you create some rules around that or structure, and you say, okay, I can't spend more than 10 grand without
Yeah.
going and having two conversations, one with a peer counselor, and maybe one with my wife or my spouse, or whatever
Right.
that is, right?
That outside
And
perspective, something to slow the
yeah,
process.
so because at very least, if if we waited a week and we thought about it, we said, man, I'm paying whatever it is, 18% interest on this thing at 140,000. By the time I'm done, I'm going to pay $400,000.
Yeah.
Is that a smart decision or not? No, it's probably not a smart decision. As much as I want that truck,
Yeah.
the truck I got will do, right?
Exactly.
So
100%. And
structure, which again, a counselor, my dad didn't cry. My dad didn't tell me he loved me, until he
yeah.
was on his deathbed, and I heard it, right?
Yeah.
As he got older, I think he realized that, real men can cry. It's okay. Right.
Yeah.
In fact,
sure.
maybe we should every once in a while, just
Yeah.
to let some of that out.
Right.
But getting a counselor, if I was doing, I don't know, I do crazy things all the time. I mean, I think most of the people around me are like, man, that guy is wired.
Yeah, that's what we hired
or
Michael
whatever.
Smith for. I don't know if you know that
Yeah.
or not, but
Yeah, let's keep an eye on me. No, I think that's Wayne and Kent. The two of them kind of
no, they're the enforcers.
Behavior.
Michael's the one that's saying red flags,
Yeah,
boys, red flags.
Watch out. But I think if you understand that, and again, not what's normal, right? I mean, if you really wanted to know what's normal, it probably really is someone going out and buying a $140,000 truck because they're depressed, or because they're upset, or because they're not getting out of their relationship what they want, or their business what they want, and that's probably more normal. And so, but that's also destructive behavior, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think the way Lucas, is my behavior destructive to me or other people around me? Right. Maybe that's the judgment call. Right.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of ways, for one, I've got to say this. Jordan Peterson said something. I was watching one of his videos a while back, and he said, I am a firm believer that about 70% of all the people who come into a clinical psychology practice do not have mental illness, but their life has become so complex they don't know how to manage it. And my job is to break that down and help them begin to find tools to navigate through that. In this case, this individual, every single time we've gotten here, has come up with a reason, an excuse that it's not them, and they begin to place blame on everything around them. And it's, oh,
Well,
no, it's
that's
this, no, it's this, no, it's this, no, it's this, instead of taking that ownership.
well, that's kind of the other thing, and I think you and I actually kind of had this conversation. It's about taking in our podcast we did last week.
Yeah.
Are you taking personal responsibility or not? Right? Am I
Yes.
blaming this on everything else? I mean, here's the deal. As I grew up, my mom was physically, verbally, mentally abusive. I
Right.
mean, literally for the first 13 years of my life, she told me what a worthless
Yeah.
XXXX I was every day, many times a day.
Right.
And that was often accompanied with anger,
Mhm.
being kicked, hit with whatever there was. And so you grow up with that and you're like, well, I got my weird stuff because it's my mom's fault. Right. So
Right.
I'm gonna let me blame my mom. Well, if you blame mom, you can't get rid of it. You can't get out of it. Right.
Right.
If it's not what you do and who you are, right? It's someone else is in control or something that happened to you 10 years ago
Amen.
now controls your life.
Amen.
Then you're stuck. You're trapped. And
Exactly. When
and
you
so-
own the problem, by God, you own the solution.
yeah. And
You know?
I think that number one, that might give you a little more frustration, right? So
Yeah.
why am I feeling like this? Oh, well, your mom was mean to you and she told you were worthless. Okay. So but you also can if you can be aware, right?
Mhm.
And if you can say, okay, when was the last time? I mean, my mom's been gone for 10 years now, maybe 12. And prior to that, I didn't, for the last 30 years of my life, I really she hasn't been in my life in the way that she could influence my life on a daily basis. So for at least the last 30 years, who's had control of my life, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? This is the
Amen.
guy, right?
Amen.
And
if
so
you leave that toxic person in your life,
yeah.
hey, that's still your fault, right?
Well,
I hate
and
to
the
be
other
like
thing is,
that, but
so putting it down in kind of shop owner, you asked about like in the shop. So
Yeah.
I teach classes about management, leadership, and sales, and I'll say, here's what you probably ought to do, and yada yada yada, and at the end of almost every class, I have someone come up to me and they say, well, my owner won't do this or won't do that, and yet the owner's the one that paid for you to be here, and so.
Right.
For me, it's like I have to decide what I'm willing to accept in my life. If I went home and my wife started yelling at me about, what a worthless piece of crap I am, look at me, I'm 64 years old and I haven't been financially successful yet, and I'm in debt, and you're always gone, and you're, blah, blah, blah. I'd get rid of her. I mean, and it's not like I don't love her, right? But I can't have that acidity in my life.
Yeah.
Right. It's not healthy for me. And if I'm
Right.
not healthy, I can't help other people around me be healthy. Right.
100%.
So Kent calls it setting boundaries. And, sometimes I think, God damn, Kent, you have a boundary for everything. But maybe that's the right thing is really being very clear about what you need or what you want or the boundaries in your life. Right.
Exactly.
And and then so I had the conversation with the wife, and I said, well, what if instead of this, you did something different? Instead, just say, instead of crying and rushing out and, et cetera, what if you said, I don't think that's really appropriate here amongst the employees to have that conversation right now, for you to treat me that way.
Yeah.
And she did. And guess what?
He stopped.
Yeah. Right. So I think part of for me, I want to have control over my own emotions and my own life. And that's hard. Right. And sometimes it's not even possible. I mean, I'll see some weird movie and it'll make me cry. Right. And I don't even know why. Right.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why am I crying about this? Is the stupidest thing. And here's this, 64-year-old guy sitting there. Oh my God. He's dead and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not even real. It's just a damn movie. But most of the time, I'm I go, okay, this is what I'm willing to accept or not willing to accept. And
Yeah.
and when a service advisor comes to me or a manager and says, my owner won't XYZ, right? My advice is this. First of all, figure out, do the pluses of being in that place and working for that person, they outweigh the minuses, right? Because the minuses are going to be there. You've been, I don't know how long you've been married. I got four
Long time.
kids. I got four
Yeah.
kids ranging from, I don't know, 30 to 40, right?
Right.
And they have given me grief and pleasure beyond what I thought I could endure. I mean,
Right.
happiness that is overwhelming, and pain that's overwhelming. And do I think that in the next 20 years that's going to disappear because I just want it to? No.
Right.
You're in business. Business is always a challenge. I
Yeah.
mean, don't get me wrong. There might be days here where nothing goes wrong. I don't have any clients that are upset, or everything's perfect. No employees. But
Yeah.
the bigger your business gets, the more people you have in your life, the bigger your family gets, the more opportunity to have challenges, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Cecil, the very first business coach I had, I called him one time and tears in my eyes, so upset over all these things that have gone wrong, right? And I said, man, I just want all these problems to go away. And he said, son, you listen to me. When all those problems go away, you're dead.
yeah,
Let's get better
yeah,
problems. If we think we're going to escape the struggle of life, we've lost our minds, right? Like
yeah.
struggle is part of life. Sacrifice and pain is part of life. We can't just expect that to go away.
I
We
think
can
it's
work to make it better, though.
yeah. I think it's part of growth, though, too. I mean, how do you experience extreme joy without having experienced extreme
Exactly.
sadness, right? Family dies and passes away, and that's challenging, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's extremely challenging. Some people more than others, and if I think that's not going to happen to me, I am crazy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, for sure.
I love talking to owners because I'm like, well, this morning, I'm talking to a guy and he's got a service advisor, and this person's a problem. They've literally decided that his pricing's too high and that the community can't afford anything, and blah, blah, blah. And his sales have dropped by 40%. And I'm like, dude, he's like, yeah, you wanted this. You bought the business. You signed your name to the lease. You're the one that's responsible. You have to make decisions. And if you think that you're going to have a business and never have any pain,
Yeah, ain't gonna happen.
you're going to be disappointed a lot in your life. And I don't know, for me, the challenges are things that make it exciting. Not necessarily when I'm in the middle of it and it's the most painful or the most stressful,
Right.
but before, thinking about, well, man, we could do this or this, and then after, thinking about, man, we solved that problem. It's what makes the highs, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly. 100%. So let me ask you about my friend. For one, when does it cross from normal entrepreneurial volatility? Like when is it?
when it's hurting the people around you. Now, I don't mean in a sense of, well, my wife's mad at me. Okay.
Right.
My wife has been mad at me a lot, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that, I've made some decisions and she's just shaking her head going, I don't know what that idiot's doing this time. Right. And,
Yeah.
but she doesn't, she's non-confrontational. I married a woman who's non-confrontational, which for me is probably good, but
You'd have been dead by now if it wasn't.
if I'm putting my family
in
at
jeopardy.
risk. Now, and again, there's different risk tolerances. So for me, when I first signed my first house, it was $100,000, and I thought it was the end of the world. Man, God, I'm gonna owe forever, and how am I gonna make these $1,000 payments? Well, I bought another business. I spent over $1 million on it, and most of that debt. And so I think tolerance of risk is different for different people. But if I'm really putting myself in a position where I'm accepting 18 or 25% interest because I just got to have this right now, that is not healthy, right? If I can't recognize that that's a behavior that's probably not a good behavior to have, then it's not healthy. If if I can't talk to my wife about it and have an open conversation, that's not healthy, right? And so
Yeah.
I think every, I don't know, most shop owners I know have this entrepreneurial spirit. It's different than the people that just come to work for you, right?
Right. Right. For
And
sure.
thank God that we have that, because otherwise there'd be no businesses. There'd only be people that need jobs, right? And
Yeah.
but is it, I don't know, there's harmful relationships which you have to be careful of too, because I don't know their situation. I don't
Yeah.
know them like you do, and I don't know if is the wife contributing to this
Yeah.
or not.
For
But
sure.
that's why I need a counselor here. That's why I need to get somebody in the middle
Yeah.
who's trained and who can go, that's not healthy. And maybe I go first, and then
Yeah.
maybe I invite my wife with me down the road once I've figured out that my behavior is not healthy.
You bring up a really valid point. Is in life and in relationships, there's casualties,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
so I impact my wife whether I mean to or not.
You
And
impact a lot of people, whether you
yeah,
mean to or not, right? Yeah.
exactly. And what I say and what I do matters. And sometimes I'm not polished on what I say, and sometimes I'm not paying attention to how I'm acting, and I'm letting emotion control. I tell people all the time, there is no room for emotion in business. It doesn't work. I've tried it, right? It just does not work for me. And
Yeah.
so if I am having emotional responses, there's a chance that I impact someone I love and someone I care about. And I don't think that we can have a relationship without negatively impacting that other person at times. I don't think there's a way to avoid that, but
Well,
we
yeah,
have
no
to
matter
recognize
what.
it.
Yeah, no matter
Yeah,
what. And that's the give and take of relationships. I mean,
yeah,
you and I've been married for, I don't know how many years now, 43. I think we just celebrated our 43rd anniversary, and
right.
yeah, congratulations. Thank you. It's been tough, right? I
Yeah,
mean, probably
yeah,
harder on her than me.
right.
Um,
Oh,
and
I
you
would
and I've
guarantee.
known each other for a long time, and I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that at some point you probably said, man, that Cecil, I pissed you off at some point, or I said something that you
right.
didn't like, or that's where understanding the human condition and having some love in
Yeah,
your heart and some forgiveness in your heart is super important, right? I
yeah,
mean, I would say in this particular case, I think both spouses need to look at how they're interacting with each other,
okay.
and so, yeah, who knows, why does someone do that and put the family at risk and then want to mortgage the house? And my wife and I, not too long ago, we had a 7,000 square foot house. The kids were gone. My wife is not as physically able as she used to be, so she can't get down on her knees and clean the bathroom, and I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah,
But I'm also a clean freak, so the bathroom's got to be clean, and I couldn't keep up the house, and I put the house on the market, and I did tell her, and we had a conversation, but she was very resentful of that.
right.
We've lived here for 28 years. This is my home, and you're selling my home out from under me. And we went to see a counselor,
Yeah,
and the counselor said, Cecil, why are you doing this? I said, I can't keep it up. I
yeah,
can't like I can't live in a filthy condition, right? It's not in me, right?
right.
And I can't do all of it myself, and my wife is not physically able to do that. We need to be in a more controlled situation. And the counselor looked at my wife and said, he's not trying to take away your home. He's trying to create a home that the two of you can live together well, that you can
Yeah,
both be comfortable in. And so that was, it took a counselor, I think, to help us both to come to terms with that. We still sold the house, right?
yeah.
And we're moving on with our lives, but we can become resentful, and we can do all kinds of behaviors that we might not even know we're doing, to prove a point or to create something that we're just unaware of.
How often are these situations caused by our avoidance of hard conversations?
Oh, we don't communicate. That's a real problem. Like, we don't talk about things. Hey, I'm feeling like this. Why? I'm not supposed to. I'm a man,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
started this out kind of like, well, yeah, real men don't cry, and we don't talk about our feelings, and we don't. I mean, if I'm disappointed in my family or my wife or even my employees or whatever, I'm like, I don't want to have that conversation. That's not a
yeah,
comfortable conversation, right?
for sure.
but I think if you're not able to have that conversation, then it doesn't get better, it gets worse.
Yeah.
Right. And so your behavior gets more
Coming back to Kent's boundaries, right?
Yeah, right. Right. And Kent's boundaries, like my boundary would probably be further over here, but his boundary's here, but he has a very solid boundary. And Kent gets mad at me because, like, sometimes I don't have the boundaries that I need. Right. He feels like, hey, Dad, you're not, why do you put up with this? Why do you let so-and-so do this to you and whatever? And I'm like, well, I am who I am. Right. And which is an imperfect human being, which is what I'm supposed to be, working on doing the best I can every single day. And I would go back to, am I taking personal accountability, right?
Right.
For my actions and the results of my actions? And then am I harming the people around me, right?
Yeah.
Or not? Am I adding, and I can't go through life without creating some harm, right?
Right.
But am I consistently creating harm and danger in the lives of other people? Who cares if I go broke and I, end up, being homeless? I'll go live on a beach in Hawaii or something. But what if I take my family with me, or I take my business with me and the people that rely on that? That's not healthy, right?
Right. 100%. 100%. So let me ask you this. Now we've isolated that it's not healthy. We've determined that something needs to be done, something needs to be said. But in many cases, especially with the shop owners that I've worked with, it's a very difficult conversation. Very difficult conversation. And we have a really hard time getting them to acknowledge this and take ownership of this, at least to a degree. And when I say degree, I'm saying like, hey, some of this, not all of this, but some of this may actually be your fault and you have to do something to fix it.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm the same way. Like I guess it was a month ago, you came to me and said, you need to raise your labor rates. What did I do? I went in and I raised my labor rates while we were on the call. I didn't ask, I didn't question, I didn't do anything. I just did what you said. And 10 years ago, I would have cried for 2 months about it. Right? Like I would have complained, I would have fussed, I would have said that Cecil's an idiot. I would have come up with all these things, but I've recognized to shorten my pathway to growth, I have to take immediate action when someone I trust gives me perspective and feedback. I analyze the situation, right? I know the data, and I say, hey, listen, I know they're not leading me wrong. I agree with them. It was uncomfortable, but I'm going to make the decision. And if there's a consequence, there's a consequence. This is what I'm doing. And so that takes time to acquire that. In this case, this friend of mine has been doing this for years, right?
Yeah.
And never taking it. And we get better, we get worse, we get better. And listen, if there's anything that's ever exhausted me about myself in my life, it's the seesaw, right?
Yeah.
Oh, going up. Oh, back down. Right? I can't, like, that will wear you out. And so you have to break that cycle. How do we help them do that, Cecil?
Well, as a coach who often is a counselor, I have to build trust with you to a point that if I make a comment or if I say, hey, we need to do something, that you actually take that seriously. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also have to realize that I can't just blindly go raise your labor rate. Right. I mean,
for sure.
Because for you, it's like, for me, it's just words I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of experience to back all that up. But for you, it's like, well, what if I do? And what if I lose all my customers? And what if? So I have to build trust with you. And what we need to do as human beings is we need to not only find people, but create those relationships of trust with different people in our lives. Right. Mm-hmm. So, you and I have known each other a very long time. You came to some classes 25 years ago.
Yeah.
They helped you. You went to another coach. He helped you. You did some other classes, and at some point we ran into each other and I said, okay, now it's time for you to be my client. And we've developed, I think, not just a friendship, but also like I trust you. And I know that what you're doing is for the best. You're always trying to do what you think is best. And I think that's the other thing. Like if we're sitting around and going, why are they doing that to me? Oh my God, they're, why do they always put me in this position? We either have the wrong people in our life or we
Yeah.
don't have the right attitude.
Right.
Right.
Right mindset, right perspective.
Yeah. My mindset is, if I have people in my company that come here every day and work hard every day and love the company and espouse the company thing, that if they make a decision, they're not making a decision necessarily that's in their own interest. They're actually making a decision based on our foundational principles and based on, what they believe to be best for the company. Now, I might not agree with what they're doing,
Right.
but if they're doing it in the best intention, right, then maybe this guy is doing what he's doing because he's really trying to provide for his family. But and what he sees is, if I have this nice truck, then I'm providing for my family. And by the way, I can refinance the house. I mean, that's no big deal, and I can get a lower interest rate.
Insecurity.
But the problem is you keep doing that over and over, and when you get old, you don't have anything of any value left.
Yeah.
There's nothing there, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm saying you need to, number one, you got to cultivate relationships of trust in your life, and you need to trust somebody. I mean, it would be very easy for me never to trust anybody. I mean, the one person that probably should have loved me the most didn't have the capacity to do that their entire life.
Yeah.
And so, but again, somewhere in my 30s, and by the way, it took me a long time. I was in my late 30s. I finally said, it's not me. It was her. And so I have to learn how to be me and how to be good with me. Right.
You've heard me talk about him many times. He's passed away now. His name was Tim Kite. And he owned Focus 3 Leadership, and he did a presentation for Ohio State football. He was the culture coach for Ohio State football. And he said something that always stood out to me. He said, love is given freely. It's never earned. And trust is earned. And you better not mix those two things up. And he said, how do I gain trust? Through repeated behaviors. You know that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. Right.
Well,
and I think that, go ahead.
It might be scary too, though, because if this particular person has repeatedly put them in debt and bought large purchases and et cetera, I'm not building trust by repeated behavior at this point. I'm actually creating stress and other stuff by repeated behavior.
Well, exactly. And that's what I was going to say is, so now we take a step back and we say, we're in a relationship. We're in a business partnership, right? Like, this is not just about relationships. This is going to be partnerships too. There's baggage that comes along with this. There's baggage in a relationship, regardless of what kind of relationship it is. That one time Mrs. Smith said this about me, and I'm very sad about it. But we remember those things. And we have a responsibility of saying, okay, I have to reset the dial here at some point, because one of the things about marriage is that vow says, this is forever. This is a forever thing. Yeah, right?
This is not just for a week or until I get tired of looking at you. Here's
here
it goes,
or
right?
Worse. Yeah. And worse can be pretty worse, right? So,
and they're done that.
Yeah. So when we're in these situations, we at some point have to reset the dial. And I think as business partners and as folks in relationships and marriages, we've got to back up and stop and say, hey, wait just a minute. One, as being in this relationship, I know there's parts of me that I'm going to have to sacrifice. I'm going to have to compromise with you, right? And to build trust, we're going to have to compromise with one another to get back here, right? I understand I've done things that have upset you, and you understand that you've done things that have upset me. And so we have to come back and find a common ground somewhere, because the water gets so muddy.
But here's how am I talking to you? How am I treating you? How am I approaching you? Because if my ego is hurt, or if I'm mad, right, and I come to you and I go, Lucas, damn it, you son of a bitch, you always XYZ, right?
Yeah.
That's not healthy. That's not good. And by the way, that's never going to get me what I need.
Yeah.
If I come to you and I say, Lucas, I'm really concerned. I'm going to have a conversation with an employee, right?
Yeah.
I have rules around having those conversations. Number one, I need to have proof of the behavior. So if I come to you and I go, Lucas, I'm concerned about you because I've seen this behavior 5 times, and here's 5 examples of that.
Yes.
And when you're having conversation with people, it's a management technique, it's a counseling technique, or whatever. I've seen this behavior. Do you recognize that there's a pattern here? Right?
Yeah.
Hey, can you see this with me? Yeah, I see that. Okay, great. Now it's a completely different conversation. And unfortunately, we let our hurt and our anger and our disappointment and our egos get in the middle of all this. And we say things and we treat people in a way that's not healthy. Right?
Yep. 100%.
When I start saying, well, I don't know who, I could pick anybody and go, well, you're this and you're this and you're that. All of a sudden, all I'm doing is putting a big wedge between us.
100%, man.
And it's probably going to create more of the behavior I don't want and not the behavior that I want. We have to be so careful in our relationships and when we're talking to people about how we approach them and what we do.
Growing up, and I've told you this before, I love my daddy to death. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything bad about my daddy. I don't want you to think that. But I remember growing up, if I grabbed a sandwich bag and I put a sandwich in that sandwich bag and it was the right size, he would tell me, why'd you use that bag? Because we don't have that many of that bag. Okay. All right. And I would go to a bigger bag and he would say, why'd you use that bag? You shouldn't have used that bag. That bag's too big. Yeah. And then I'd have got a small bag. It doesn't fit in that, right? Like that's how my dad was. And I look back and I recognize my grandmother was very much the same way with him, right? That's how he was raised and that's how he raised us. And I have to be careful about that. But it also created a thing in me that sometimes when my wife says something, I respond and I'm like, boo, I can't believe you right? Like I get emotional because of
I put whatever bag I want. I'm an adult now, right? I bought those bags.
Right. What are you talking about?
Whoa. Yeah.
And so she came to me years ago and she said, can you see that I'm on your team? Can you see that I'm trying to fight the fight that you want to fight, that we're doing this together? I'm not against you.
Right.
And if you perceive something I'm saying is against you, you're not hearing what I'm saying.
There isn't a person that in my life that I don't want to see successful. There isn't a shop that I've ever met. I mean, I have clients that left me and went to other places where I don't think it was the best thing for them. And it hurts me still today, right?
Yeah.
I see them and I'm like, oh man, and it hurts. But you have to, you kind of have to overcome those things and move those things forward or put those things in a place that you know how to deal with them, right? My dad was very critical, same thing, I mean,
it was the generation. It was the generation he was raised in. It was
if I cleaned it, it wasn't clean enough. If I put it away, I didn't put away the way it was supposed to. If I used it, it was probably the wrong thing, right? I wore my shoes out too fast and I grew too fast, so my pants were too short. And as a parent, I'm thinking, and by the way, guess what? I've screwed my kids up just as much as my parents screwed me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And not out of bad intention, just out of, I'm really stressed about work and I come home and things aren't, kids are too loud and I scream at them instead of get in there and, enjoy the time together. Right.
It makes me think of that Zig Ziglar story, Mr. B, where he said that tomcat was the only being in that entire equation who could not have changed the outcome of those circumstances. Right? And like sometimes we got to be the thing that stops it. Sometimes we have to be the one to put the foot down and say, no, I'm not going to continue this. This is where we're stopping this. Well, there's a really great comment over here. I want to read this book because I know we have a few minutes early. So there's a really great comment. It's Todd Ainsworth, and he says, I think trust is not only an issue in creating the relationship with clients, but independent shop owners are independent by nature, believe that they have a better way due to past experiences and have trouble believing other people, shop owners, coaches, etc., want to help them and not gain some sort of advantage by looking more closely at financials, etc. I have seen that time and time again. They tend to say, oh, he's out to do something. There's a reason. They wouldn't just want to help me for no other reason, right? Like there's got to be something there, right? And so I think that's a really great perspective. Thank you, Todd.
So if anything is healthy in my life, it's probably the the driving force to try to change the industry and
Yeah.
make it a better place for a lot of people. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if I didn't have that, I would have done a lot of different things, and I'd probably be a much wealthier person than I am at this
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
And
100%, buddy.
yeah, that's a great thank you, Todd. That's really a great comment. But again, it's up to us to be as adult as possible and to recognize what's my part in this. And
Yeah.
I think we have to get conscious, and that's one of the problems, that we're often unconscious about our communication. And we have to get conscious, especially when we have situations. So like if I have a real problem with my wife or one of my clients or one of my partners here at the Institute, I mean, hell, I never had partners. All of a sudden I got partners in the last couple of years.
Right.
And that's not an easy relationship. I have to be
You
very
messed up. You went and
conscious.
hired some really, 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 really
Amazing
smart
people.
Partners.
Yes, I did, actually.
They are very intimidating. Okay, I'm not gonna
Well, somebody at one point, I think it was Covey or somebody who said, you really want to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
Yeah.
And I
think
don't
you've
know,
outdone
a
yourself.
few years
Cecil.
ago,
I
I've kind
think
of
they're pretty
taken
much
that to
smarter
heart.
than all of
So,
us.
yeah, I mean, we just restructured, did a lot of restructuring, and I'm signing, I don't know how many pages of legal documents, and I'm like, man, I'm either doing the best thing for myself in the world because I brought the right people in, or I'm going to end up broken on the streets because I just gave away everything to everybody.
I'm not reading all this. It'll be fine.
No, I read it, but it's not easy to understand.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, but it's not an excuse. We use all these excuses, like my mom, or today I heard President Trump, the economy, and the economy's bad. Well, if you're a business owner, you don't get to use excuses.
Amen.
Okay, if you want to be successful, you have to be aware, you have to be awake, you have to be knowledgeable, you have to be pursuing knowledge, and finding out that maybe the way you did it for the last 20 years is not the way it needs to be done in the future if you want to really be successful. You know that adage about doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so back to the idea of counseling, there's never anything wrong with finding a good counselor, and I think you can do that. You might have to interview 2 or 3, and then saying, help us to communicate. You have, in this case, you have a wife who's concerned. She's probably concerned for her kids, her future, her husband, their business, etc. And then you have a husband who is doing some manic behaviors, right?
Yeah.
And those are probably legitimate, meaning there's something behind all that is brought that all forward.
Yeah.
But the first thing that really needs to happen is they both need to sit down in a calm situation and say, we need help, and find help.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because we have to realize that we're on the same team.
Yeah, my wife and I, that years ago, my wife does so many things that piss me off, and I've said it more than once on a podcast, and it's harmful for her to hear that. So don't listen to this part, honey. But she doesn't live her life exactly the way I want, and she doesn't do this the way I want. She doesn't fold my laundry the way I want. Those kind of things, right? And so if I look at all the things that she does wrong, I can't be married. Yeah. And I don't know, 20 years ago, I was just this negative guy who just was unhappy all the time. And I said, I have to change my perspective because the world's not going to change. My wife, we've been married 43 years. She's not changing tomorrow. She's not going to wake up tomorrow and go, I'm going to do all this differently.
You're too hard-headed. Okay, listen. My wife, she had me trained from the word go. She was right. Okay.
Yeah.
She's not wrong ever. It's me. Okay. I have got to the point that I accept it. I know it. I acknowledge it. And I just do exactly what she says. And believe it or not, my life gets better when I do.
You're a smarter guy than I am.
She's going to kill me when I get home.
Because she's like, bullshit. But what I had to do was I had to make a conscious choice to not look at the stuff that doesn't fit, but really mostly to look at the stuff that fits and that works well. And, I love talking to my wife at the end of the day and going, here's where the business is at. And here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
And here's why I'm
me
doing
too.
this. And
Me too.
there's anybody else I'd rather have that conversation with. And I've got Wayne and Michael and Kent, and I do have lots of those conversations with them, but
It just didn't hit the same.
I like having the conversation with my wife.
There's
right?
something different about here's where we're going together,
Yeah.
right? There's something different about your closest companion and having a conversation with them saying, I am so excited to do this with you. So my wife hates talking about the business. I
Yeah.
swear she does. But that, of all the things, and I've had to be very guarded about this, but of all the things that provide me relief, being able to share how I feel about the business to her, because here's the big thing, right? And this was a big thing about counseling for me, Cecil, is even you being as close as we are, there's things that I don't feel comfortable coming and telling you about the business. Now I do. I force myself through it, but it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
When I went to counseling, I learned what it feels like to truly be vulnerable and say how I feel about something and not worry about being judged. And so I can talk to my wife and let that out. And that's a big deal for me.
And understand from our relationship. I'm a coach and I'm a coach and I'm a coach and I'm a teacher, and it's just ingrained in me. So, and because of whatever happened to me in my life and all the experience I've had, I have a gift or whatever to see things that some other people don't often see. And so when I come to you and I say, hey, Lucas, I need to know this, or hey, Lucas, I think we need to do this, it's never, we're on the same team. It's always, we're always on the same team. It's 100%. Never, how do I get extra money from Lucas, or, how do I get influence or whatever? It's none of that. It's always, I want you to be successful as much as possible. And I believe to the core of my being that 99% of what I'm telling you is right. And that I might be insane. I might be on that mental side, right?
Good news. I trust you. And so I might be mental too, but like, hey, we'll be on the same bus together. So it's okay.
Well, we have to take accountability for ourselves. We have to look and see, am I harming the people around me and myself? All right.
Amen.
And then we have to be very careful about how we talk to people. Again, especially if we're on the same team, right? I mean, there are people that I just don't like. And so we're not even going to talk. I'm not wasting my time with that person, right? And I'm not wasting my energy. But the people in my life that I care about, I'm going to give them everything that I can give them. And hope that I'm right most of the time. And we'll ride this thing out together. I'm always there for them.
Amen, buddy. Well, thank you for being here, Cecil. I know we got to end it a few minutes early. I got to make it to an accountant's office. You got stuff you got to do. I hear that Michael and everybody else has this huge stack of paperwork for you to sign.
They got all kinds of stuff for me.
Something about financing 42 brand new vehicles is all I heard. I don't know what it is. So just go sign
$40,000 a piece. No, it's just paperwork.
That's it. It's just paperwork. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. Hey, did they get that auto sign thing set up for you?
Yeah, it's all done. It literally is, buddy. I signed 47 documents in like 10 minutes.
That's it. I love it. Don't know what they said. It's fine.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Go ahead, Cecil. I'm sorry.
I called Wayne and I was like, hey, Wayne, I'm looking at this stock stuff and it looks to me like this, but on this other side, it looks like this. And he's like, oh, it's fine. No problem. And I'm like, okay.
That's it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay.
Don't worry.
There we go. And I told him that proves how much I trust you. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, these are, and you need to foster relationships in your life that you can have people in your life that they're on your side and they're working with you towards things. So wrap her up there, buddy.
And folks, that's exactly why if you own an auto repair shop, you need to have the Institute in your life, especially with all the new great big things that they're doing. Their coaching services have been a life changer for me, and I hope they will be a life changer for you in the very near future. So you guys make sure you check out all the Institute has to offer and have a great day.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.